All right, I just want to say welcome, Joe. Thank you so much for taking time to come and help educate all of my clients, educate the world on credit restoration, what credit means, how we even get to it, because ultimately credit is like the foundation of everything. You know,
Everything.
they say cash is king, but I'm like, it's really not, because you need credit to get what you want unless you have all of the cash. If you're gonna get a loan, you need credit.
Cash is king, credit's power.
Yeah, credit's better.
That's
Exactly.
how I look at it. If you
Exactly.
understand,
So,
if you understand the value of credit, then you understand how to leverage it. Then it's very powerful.
yes. So, Joe is an expert. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself and
Uh,
we'll go from there.
like Angie said, I'm Joe Camacho. I am a senior credit analyst over here at the Phoenix Group, specializing in mortgage credit qualifications. I've been doing that for about 19 years. So I've been able to assist. The number we stopped counting now was probably about 55,000 clients.
Wow.
But I do a lot of free advice for a lot of major partners in the mortgage and real estate industries, kind of like Angie. And so we'll put it somewhere in about 250,000 people, although we probably have already helped. So basically, I'm just here to be an asset, to be an assistance for folks who are looking to improve their overall credit. But if you're focused on becoming a homeowner, that's kind of my bread and butter, so to speak.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for an overall cleanup, I'm pretty much the go-to for a lot of folks.
I will tell you that I recommend you to ever do it. Because I've seen your work firsthand, right? Like I have family members that have used you. They still reach out to you this day.
That
And
they do.
questions, you know. But I love Joe because he is ethical. Like there's a lot of credit people out there that just are in it for the $99 monthly fee that continues forever and nothing ever happens to your credit. They don't put in the work, they dispute everything, and then you never hear from them again. And I like Joe because Joe is ethical. He will do a consultation with you. He will tell you, like, I can help you, and this is what it's going to take. He will tell you, I can help you, like you are beyond, and there's that. And then he'll also tell you, like, hey, that's something you can do on your own. Go ahead and do it. Like he's in it for the right reasons, because he knows ultimately people are going to refer him out, like I have. I'm like Joe, 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 Joe. Everybody.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to, and I get lumped in. It's just I think every industry has a bad apple in it or
Yeah,
so. It just seems like this industry in credit restoration happens to be saturated with a lot of bad apples. So I automatically
yeah,
get lumped in with a lot of those folks. At the end of the day, what I always tell any potential client or anybody that I talk to, if someone referred you on over to me, then obviously I'm trying to make an advocate out of you as well too. Hence why I've been
yeah.
successful for 19 years, right? People don't refer people if they're ripping them off. We're not trying to keep you in a monthly subscription. I offer a 6-month program, and the confidence I let everybody know is that if I go past 6 months, I work absolutely free of charge. So you already know there's a sense of urgency on my end. I'm not trying to work for free. I mean, I'm trying to
Right,
get people out of here. Um,
right.
so at the end of the day, yeah, if you want a straight shooter, yeah, I'll be brutally honest.
Oh,
That's
you will.
you'll definitely
I
get
love
that
it.
with me.
Yeah, I love that though. Okay, so let's get into the credit basics. When people look at their score, a lot of times people will come to me and they're like, Ange, I'm looking at Credit Karma. My score is 700. We pull it, FICO, the mortgage FICO is less, but like what makes up the credit score itself? Like, how do people even get to a credit score?
So a lot of great tools, right? A lot of great platforms, applications to be able to kind of see what our credit score is. I think with the majority of people that are really focused on is always going to be your credit score. It's not the account information itself, right? We
Mhm.
always need a form of measurement. So at the end of the day, there's going to be different platforms that use different forms of measurement.
Mm.
So you brought up Credit Karma. Credit Karma uses a Vantage Score 3.0. Vantage Score 3.0 is just a different variation of scoring, just like FICO. Fair Isaac is a different, just a different form of measurement. Now, Vantage Score 3.0, there is a 4.0, but it's not really utilized on the consumer side just yet, but it does exist for like the last 2 years. That is just, it's weighs things differently. It has 6 different categories that it's going to weigh on. So like, I'll give you an example. Number 1 category with Vantage Score, which you see on Credit Karma, is going to be payment history at I believe is 40% of your Vantage Score is going to be payment history. When you look at a FICO credit score, like Angie would on pulling a credit report for a new mortgage, that's going to be 35%. So already, if you have some of those bad, late payments or derogatory payment history, or you don't have enough positive payment history, lack of, that's why you're going to see that huge variance of why the scores are going to be way off. Everybody always thinks like, Joe, do I just, look at my, Credit Karma score and subtract 100 and that's going to be my mortgage score? No, there's an actual algorithm that's out there. I did not graduate from MIT, so I do not know how to explain that algorithm, but it does exist. But I always tell people there's always some really good platforms that you can utilize in order to find the right type of scoring model. So if you want to, you can use Experian.com. I personally use it. It gives us, if you upgrade to the premium account, you have a 7-day free trial. You got to put your payment information in. It says it's $25. You're not going to get charged anything. And you'll be able to look at your FICO 8. FICO 8 is going to be strictly for credit monitoring. There are different variations of FICO 8, but that's what you're going to get. You're going to get the basic. If you upgrade to the premium, you're going to get all the different algorithms. FICO 2 mortgage, what Angie uses, you'll see a FICO 2 credit card model in there, auto score model on there. So if you really want to get an overall scope of things, I use Experian.com. Now, if you're preparing to buy a house, I would say you could, and you want to know your mortgage scores, but you're not too ready to pull with the lender yet, you can use myfico.com, but that's going to be probably about a $40 investment to look. It's going to be a soft pull of those 3 mortgage scores. So, to answer your question on like what's a credit score and anything like that, basically what it breaks down to on credit reports is your level of risk as a consumer. People are going to size you. They're going to size you up based on what they see in black and white in front of them. Do you pay people back on time? Do you have a good history with them? Do I entrust you with X amount of dollars for this purchase, whether it be for a vehicle or a new house or a line of credit? There's a difference between people who get a $20,000 line of credit and only get approved for a $200 line of credit. Why? Because that level of risk.
I was telling people that when they talk about the different scoring models, I'm like, everything's weighted differently. Like you think about it as in the purchase, right? Like credit cards, it's weighted differently because it's a credit card. The limit, is smaller. For a house, it's going to be weighted differently because they're like, you're making a much bigger purchase. So you talk about how like when they have, like revolving credit, installment debt, like how those, magically, is it good to have all of that? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, can you talk about that piece of it?
Absolutely. Make sure your credit counts for 10% of your credit score. So let's kind of break that down a little bit. So you mentioned like installment loans. There's 4 different types of installment loans. You got a mortgage, you got an auto, you got school, the student loans, and then you have personal loans, right? So having different variations of those type of installment loans are going to help you with payment history, which is your number 1 factor, 35% of your score. And then 10% is going to be your mixture of credit, right? So there's 4 different types of loans. Then there's 4 different types of credit cards. What do you have? Amex, Discover, Visa, MasterCard. So the more mixture that we have of different, of these different accounts, the more mixture that we have, the better the look. So because what you're doing is you're letting people know it doesn't matter what type of an installment loan. Installment loans eventually run out. The most significant one you're going to have is mortgage because it's 30 years. The second one's going to be student loans, which is about 20 to 25. Then you're talking about auto loans.
Yeah.
Typical is going to be 60 months, but I see a lot of people now 72, 84 months, right?
Yeah.
Get that payment lower. And then you have personal loans, right? But the thing is that what people need to understand is that you got to be real careful with that. There's got to be a healthy ratio, because then we start getting into, are you overextended? Your debt to income
Mm.
balances,
Yeah.
that nature. Credit cards are going to weigh a lot different, a lot harder on you, because you got to remember, when you received the credit card, what did you have? You had a zero balance.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not just about proper utilization. Like if I have $1,000 credit limit, oh, I pay it off, I do this, I do all these. Okay, great. But the thing is that why is it only 1,000?
Right.
The
Okay.
longevity that you have with that credit card, well, I've already proven myself, right? Maybe I got some hiccups on my credit report why I don't have the best credit score. But when you start to develop payment history with a major creditor, you can now leverage that in order to increase your credit limit. So that credit limit's not so you can go spend more. So when people look at your credit report, they understand who the players are and what those banks
Yeah.
trust you with. I'm a big football guy, so I always talk about this, like fantasy football. Fantasy football, if for those viewers who don't know what the concept of fantasy football, it's basically you have an open roster and you draft the best players to create the best team to go to the Super Bowl, right? So think
Hmm.
of your credit report like a roster. Do
Yeah.
you want to put on your roster First Premier, Credit One Bank, Indigo, Bank of Missouri, Milestone? These are all low tier, bad rating credit cards. A lot of
Mm.
you will probably see these as suggestions from Credit Karma to get approved, and you probably have some that you open to rebuild your credit, and that's no fault to you. Credit Karma, by the way, guys, is an affiliate website, a very elaborate affiliate website. So every time they recommend a credit card and you get approved, they get a kickback. So
Mm. I didn't know that.
that's why they're suggesting those credit cards now,
Yeah.
and that's why they got in trouble. They got sued because they were suggesting things that people were getting declined for. But that's another story. So, anyways, if you start putting the right players on your roster, like Chase, Wells, B of A, right? If you put the
Right.
big girl accounts on here on your credit report, when you have a big purchase like a major vehicle or maybe a home purchase, you're now telling someone in finance or in underwriting that if these big banks can entrust Joe or Angie with these type of lines of credit, I'm okay. I feel confident that I can entrust them with more money,
Yeah,
because
that's good. Oh,
guilt by association, basically, right? You are the company that you keep. Why would you
yeah.
want to be associated with low tier, bad rating credit cards when we can get you the better ones?
Right.
That's
You
my
know,
take on
so it's funny because, we were talking about like the installment debt, so recently I was holding on, like I probably had $2,000 left on my student loans, and $70 a month payment, right? And I'm like,
it, right?
oh, I was so afraid to like pay it off because I was like, is this going to impact me negatively? Because I've had it it was like one of my longest lines of credit. I mean, not lines of credit, but
Absolutely.
longest loans, So I'm like, I don't want to pay it off. So I mean, it's getting down to 1,000, and I'm like, And finally, I was like, just pay it. Like at the end of the day, it's gonna be done. But uh, is that irrational?
It's okay. So a lot of folks that I tend to, when I look at do an analysis of a credit report, I could tell you that probably the number one thing that most people stay consistent with is going to be like an auto loan. Credit cards fall by the wayside, charge offs, and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
you have to understand, it's okay if your loan gets paid off, because eventually you want to pay things off in full, right? And that's great. You will take a hit because, one, you're losing that positive payment history. It's no longer generating for you, right? It's now
right.
closed off and paid. Two, you're losing the mixture of credit because you just lost that loan. You're going to see a hit, but what's going to happen when that account closes, it's going to refocus to the next thing. If
Yeah,
you have accounts in position that have the longevity of an account that gets closed off, you'll see a rebound probably with it from it being closed. Probably in the next 25 to 35 days, you'll see a rebound.
mm,
Now,
okay.
you probably won't get all your points back, because if it's your student loans, I don't know how long you've had those student loans, probably a hot minute, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it would have to be a credit card that would have the same, if not more, points to bounce you right back up to where
Gotcha.
exactly where you were at, or if not a little bit higher. So when people say, well, I did bounce back up, but I was still like 20 points shy. Well, it's because you just didn't have enough, payment history, longevity on the account. So, that's where you have to be. Sometimes we got to be strategic when you make a
Yeah.
major purchase as well, like buying a house. A lot of people assume that it's the debt that's holding their credit score down. So they
Yeah.
go in and pay a bunch of stuff off. And it's like, no, that was like your oldest account. And, you
Yeah.
barely
Yeah.
opened up a credit card last year, and now you lost a 5-6 year old auto loan. So there's a little methods of the madness. So that's why we offer free analysis, so we could be able to break that down and be strategic with that.
I like that. Okay, so now we've talked about the different types of credit, how to, what makes it look good. So let's talk about credit repair. So, I will send people over to you that, in my opinion, need credit repair, um, because maybe they have collections, charge-offs, lates. Now, I always tell people to talk to you first because I have a lot of people that are like, I'll just do it myself. I will go and I will handle it myself and figure it out. Now, what is your advice to someone who wants to take that route? And do you see? I know from my side of it, when people take that route, I don't feel like they're as consistent as hiring a professional. But what is your take on that?
There's a lot of things we can do on our own. You can
Yeah.
change your own oil in your car. Um, you can cut your own lawn. You can pull out your own teeth if you wanted to. You don't have to get a professional to do these things. Um, it's a lot of time that's going to be invested, and you have to understand the reporting agencies are not your friends. I always tell everybody I'm very transparent. I'm not here to sell you on the service, and I'm not here to sign up anyone and everyone. That's not my job. Um, if I look at a credit report and I think you're competent enough to execute instructions and to be able to resolve that, I'll give you the information. I'll tell you what to quote. I'll tell you how to dispute. I'll tell you everything. And usually a lot of times when I give everybody literally the path to
Yeah.
increasing credit score 50, 100, 150 points or anything like that, Joe, can I just hire you? That's what I get. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's a lot of work. So be prepared that you're going to dedicate yourself, and you, like anything else in life, need to stay dedicated. Just because you took a couple of moments out of your busy day to try to entertain it a little bit and expecting these huge results, well, you got exactly what you put in. And
Yeah.
so if you don't see any results, it's because you're going to have to stay dedicated and persistent with it. The reporting agencies are privately owned companies. These are not government entities. You guys need to understand that part.
Yeah.
Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion are out to make a buck. They charge a fee to the creditors, to the collection agencies, to the finance companies. All these companies you see on your credit report, they paid to be there. Here's the problem. The
Mm.
bureaus take the money, they slap the information on the credit report, they don't verify if the information is correct, and they don't verify if it's you because they don't
Right.
care.
Right.
Because if you paid me personally to slap something on your credit report, Angie, I would take that money all day, every day, no questions asked.
You better not.
Money's
Look, I
money.
have it frozen. I got it. What's two of them? One's
She was like,
frozen,
no,
and
you're
the
right.
other one is like, what's the other one?
What? What did you say?
There's locked, like frozen and locked. Like, what's the
Oh
two?
yeah, so you can lock your credit, you can freeze your credit.
Yeah.
You can put a fraud alert on there. I have alert system set up with reporting agencies that if anybody uses my credit, they call me first. I have to give the verbal authorization before any inquiries apply to any bank and pull anything off it. So you
Yeah.
don't have to do the life lock stuff. There's so many different things you can use. My point of all this is that the reporting agencies are not your friends. You
Yeah.
go in, you expect like there's something wrong on my credit report. They got paid to report that. And then
Right.
you're going to dispute information and say, hey, I need you to go after that creditor or that collection agency and hold them accountable to make sure that's
Mhm.
correct because I don't recall that, or that's wrong. That balance is
Yeah.
wrong. That shouldn't be reporting. You think they're going to go rock the boat? with that company that paid them to put it there. You don't
Yeah,
buy the hand that feeds you. Y'all are missing that part.
that
So the
is.
thing
I
is,
never even thought about that.
so the response you're going to receive from a credit bureau is that the information has been verified by the creditor. But if you have any documentation that states otherwise, go ahead and submit it now.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with a lot of this. If part of a dispute that most consumers are missing out, like let's just be real with one another. Most people are lying when they dispute information. They're thinking that if, I saw some TikTok and I'm going to go dispute it this way and it's going to cut my credit report. Yes, some of the things will fall off your credit report if you know how to dispute it correctly because of statute of limitations, because of the authority of that third party collection. But when you
Right.
think a charge off for $4,000 from last year is just going to magically pop off your credit report, good luck. It ain't
Yeah.
going to happen. And so what's going to end up happening is that what you're going to do is you're filing a frivolous dispute. That's what the legal term is. You keep selecting these electronic disputes. Once you select a certain why you're disputing, I don't recall this. There wasn't a contract, whatever it may be. You automatically can never, ever, you opt yourself out of ever disputing it, that very specific topic ever again. So
Okay.
what a lot of people do is when they're doing this, this DIY credit repair, they get pissed off because it didn't work the first time, and then I changed it up, and then the second time didn't work, and the third time didn't work. So I'm just gonna file fraud. You just happen to file fraud on what? How many accounts? 4, 5, 10, right? Whatever it may
Right.
be negative you have on your credit report. All of a sudden, the reporting agency know exactly what you're doing, right? They're gonna
Right.
say, all of a sudden they're all now fraud. What they'll do is what they call is they'll lock your credit. You file
Mm,
too many frivolous disputes, you lock a credit report, means that you become a ghost. And what people don't understand is you're now going to spend about 3 to 4 hours on the phone with each reporting agency to unlock your credit. Now,
wow.
you got to spend 9 to 12 hours trying to unlock your bad credit. You're probably never going to dispute anything ever again. That's probably fair to say. It's the
Right.
ultimate step on the wrist. Now, let's take it to the next level. That's what the frivolous dispute. Too many frivolous disputes that don't have any documentation to support your claim. Part of your
Right.
responsibility is you got to back up your play. You say you weren't late, show the proof. You say you don't owe this money, show the proof. You don't do
Right.
it, that's a frivolous dispute. Too many frivolous disputes, lock up the credit. You continue to keep pushing it, what's going to end up happening is they can opt out of carrying your credit file. What does that mean? That means that the reporting agency has the right to say, you know what? We're good. Angie,
Yeah.
we're just, you're not going to be a customer of Experian anymore. We're good. I mean, that means you will never have an Experian report or a
Or
score for the rest of your life.
yeah.
I have
Mm.
a, I have a gentleman right now who's offered me $25,000 to have TransUnion bring his file back. He is no longer, we have that letter on letterhead right now in my office that states that we no longer choose to carry your credit file. He is a
Wow.
So think about it. Every bank you want to go back to that pulls from TransUnion, every car company, every credit card company, every finance company, and you're not
Yeah.
available. You're a ghost at that point. I
Right.
have a better opportunity to bring back somebody from the dead. People who are legally deceased on with their credit, who are still alive but they're dead on paper. I have a better opportunity to bring them back to life than that guy getting his credit file back.
Wow. Wow. That's
So
crazy. I didn't even know that that was a thing. Wow.
it's a thing. So because the thing
Okay.
is, so what everybody is doing is filing fraud. And,
Yeah.
and, the, and so what they're doing now is these credit sweeps that you guys are seeing on in the internet. You're filing a false police report, which is one, a felony. Two, you used to have a fraud affidavit that was a 9-page document, and then you would go before, a notary and basically swear that this is the truth, that these are
Yeah.
fraudulent accounts. That became such an abundance that they brought in the feds. The Federal Trade
Yeah.
Commission now has their own affidavit. So now, because you're defrauding creditors and people, these credit sweeps are defrauding major companies out of billions of dollars. So it became a federal thing. So
Yeah.
now people are getting in trouble because, yeah, your DIY thing I found and the template, and I got to file this fraud affidavit and all this stuff like that, when it's all falsified, that can lead to bigger things.
Yeah.
Consumers get the door kicked in. They don't realize what they're doing sometimes. So
Yeah.
um, hire a
So what you're
professional.
saying is hiring a professional is the best move.
It is if they truly have your best interest at heart. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like at the end of the day, like if someone is going to go beyond disputing the reporting agencies and everything like that, then yes, I believe, when they have a more elaborate process and going and holding creditors and finance companies absolutely accountable, yes. I'm not going to take it away from any consumer. There's a lot of intelligent people that I work with and I partner with.
yeah,
And there's a lot of folks that get referred to me that are extremely intelligent. But I can tell you right now, there's folks that have been who are extremely intelligent, who are
yeah.
great at paperwork, that beat their head against the wall for a year and a half, and I'm able to resolve some of those issues within the first 60 days of working with me.
Well, and
It's
I
just
think of it, I kind of compare it to like you said, a professional versus you just getting information. So for example, one of the common things that people talk about in the real estate industry is, should I get a realtor? Should I not? Right? You can go and buy a house, sure, but you're not going to have the knowledge that a realtor professional will. They'll be able to make sure that the house is of value. They'll be able to negotiate on behalf. They know what to be able to negotiate for and when to negotiate, and they know all these different things. So I say that because like people will ask me credit questions, and I'm like, I am not a credit professional. I was like, here
right.
is Joe's phone number. Call him, right? Like, because Joe, that's his realm, that's his bread and butter. So for me, it's easier to have them come to you to where they can ask you those questions, or they can, have set up the buyer consultation, because you're gonna know, like you could look at something and be like, oh, I can get that off easy. Like, and you already know what steps to do before they even sit down. So I agree. I think definitely think, and I tell people, it's kind of like we have a mutual client where whenever I was doing the pre-approval, they had plenty of funds. They were like, well, we'll just buy the house. Their credit wasn't great. They're like, we'll just buy the house and we'll put all this down. And I was like, you can put, I want to say it was like crazy, like 50,000, I think they were going to need, or something like that. And I
Right.
was like, or you can invest and get your credit fixed, and now only need 15,000 or 20,000 or whatever it was. And they were just like, I never even thought about it like that, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Why would we liquidate so much capital when we can finance? And if all we needed to do was just increase our score 30, 40 points, or whatever it may be. I think people miss that. We're back to the cash is king, right? Buy our
yeah,
way into things. I have a couple that put down 110,000 non-refundable dollars with the builder because
yeah,
that show our level of commitment of buying this house. And I'm like, but it's a $658,000 house. I didn't.
yeah,
You barely put a dent in it.
yeah,
So you still need to get half a million finance, and you need good credit to do that. um, I think in anything else in life, like if you invest in yourself and you're thinking about long-term goals,
yeah,
that's where my head's at, is just the house part, major purchases. That's the easy part. Setting up for someone for long-term, that's where I'm at. That's why
yeah.
if you have a professional, and here's the thing, I'm not trying to sell like, oh, look at me. Um, if you have in credit repair that truly is like going to offer you a free initial call, I see people charge a nickel and dime for everything because they're what they call front loading you. They're trying to get as much money out of you because the results suck. And
Yeah,
what's going to end up happening is that you can't get that money back anymore, right? So it
right,
is what it is. That's what that mentality is.
yeah,
I offer free credit analysis, free consultations, free initial calls. If I give you free advice so you can empower yourself, then so be it. That's if you genuinely have somebody who's willing to help you and guide you and hold your hand a little bit and answer the tough questions instead of, hey, let me go get with my team.
yeah,
Credit specialists, that is a sales representative, and you guys need to know that when someone can answer questions right there in front of them, they don't know the material, that they don't know what they're talking about. So if
yeah,
you don't feel confident about the person that you're speaking with, then find somebody else.
yeah,
You should be able to ask questions just like with the lender. If I'm a first time buyer and I have a ton of questions, I expect as a professional you to be able to answer that. Hey, now I'm not. Hey, I'll get back to you.
Right.
later
Yeah.
with an answer. That doesn't make me feel confident,
Yeah.
So
I will
yeah,
tell you, I preach and preach and preach. I am like, you guys, if that is your barrier, if credit is your barrier, then invest in yourself because you everybody has the best intentions. I always say that. I was like, I have the best intentions. I could say I'm gonna work on my credit, I'm gonna fix it, I'm gonna do all these different things. And then a year from now, I'm in the exact same positions because I had the best intentions. So
new year, new me. Gonna go work
right.
out.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah, the best intentions. Like I'm going to lose the weight this year, and I'm like, and so I always say people have the best intentions, and then life happens, and you come home from work and you're tired, and you're like, I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow turns into December, and now you're back at January talking about, hey. So I always preach. I'm like, just invest in yourself. You know, even if that means you got to save up the money to be able to afford getting it fixed, it's going to benefit you way more in the long run because now you could put a less down payment on a house or a car. You get a better interest rate because of your score. Like you can apply for a credit card that has a higher balance. Whatever your credit journey is or what you're wanting financially, it's going to benefit from a better score, no matter what you're trying to do. So, like, yes, I'm in houses, the housing, the mortgage industry. So I see it all the time where people can qualify for more. It could be the exact same purchase price, and one person may be able to have a higher debt to income because they have a really great credit score versus somebody down here who wants the same house. They have a lower debt to income. Now they got to bring extra savings to the table because, like you said earlier, credit is assessing your risk. So if your risk is low, the lender is going to be like, well, the risk is low, now we need you to have more money saved because your risk is, or high, that's what I should say, that your risk is
Right.
high, right? So I preach it all the time.
Higher scores, lower rate, more house, and that's what I
Yeah,
preach. Is like we work. The goal is to get more house for less money. Well, how do we
yeah,
do that?
right.
And that's why a lot of people. It's kind of like my clients will they'll say, well, my buddy just got a brand new truck, and first of all, don't compare yourself to anybody else. And I said, you don't even know what your buddy's credit situation is, and I said they could be paying 22% interest on that vehicle. I got a young lady who's paying 25% interest on her vehicle right now for a 2020 used vehicle. Her payment could literally buy her a brand new Escalade,
Oh my gosh,
but because
25%
25,
is
yeah,
wild.
yeah, it's I think the max is 26% in the state of Texas, and so the thing is what people are not understanding is how because your report determines your level of risk, who's using that?
Yeah.
Utility companies, gas, water, electric, internet, cable, all those, your
Mhm.
car insurance, your renter's insurance, your mortgage insurance, all use your credit report. 60% of your policy is going to be based on that
Yeah.
level of risk, not just your driving record. It's going to be your credit.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be look at your cell phone carriers. They pull your credit too.
Yeah.
If I walk into Verizon right now, Verizon's going to throw. I don't know what the newest iPhone is. I'm Team Android. Uh,
Hey, me too.
I don't know what the new iPhone is, but T-Mobile gonna throw me maybe four S, but the S, Ultra 25, I think that they're at right now, Androids or the 17 Pro Maxes, whatever. I'll get four of
Yeah.
those. I'll get two free tablets. I'll get unlimited data. I'll get a
Yeah.
really cheap price. Why? Because I'm consistent with my payments. Because for
Yeah.
18 years on my credit report, I've been consistent and have been late. And what they know about me is that I keep the lights on. I cover the overhead. I keep the business running. If
Right.
we all stop paying T-Mobile tomorrow, next month, that they would go under, right? Because
Yeah.
there's nobody making a payment. All that they need those. So that's the enticement for, hey, Joe has good history with staying with people. He's loyal to these
Yeah.
companies. So let's offer him on the front end in order to woo him in. That's
Right.
what people don't understand about good credit and why they pay when you have excellent credit. Why you pay so much more less
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
everything. And now you're thinking, and I have people that, well, Joe, I can work more overtime, I can make more money, I could do all that. Great. You can accommodate the bad credit, spend more time away from your family in order to just to barely make it by, or the overtime that doesn't have to go towards the bills can now be put into an investment portfolio, or maybe look into buying an investment property, or creating an asset, or whatever. It doesn't make sense to me. You're working hard to literally throw it away because you have bad credit, because you won't invest in yourself. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I
Don't
want to
get me
ask
talking
you.
about it.
Look, I'm telling you, me too, all the time. So I want to ask you, you're going to leave people with a word of advice, or you could do do's and don'ts, whatever you want to do. But leave us with something, and then we can wrap up.
um,
Put you on the spot, I know.
I know that because there's so much. I mean, do's and don'ts. I mean, here's the thing. All of you have computers in your pockets. That's what your phone is, a computer, right? If you have credit cards and you have apps, put it on auto pay. Don't tell me about all the excuses that your paycheck is funky and all that stuff, and this is what happens, and blah 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 and everything like that. It's a minimum payment that you, in order to, the late payment will cost you tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in the future. You don't even know it. You don't see it. A lot of folks are just accommodating the bad credit. Stay on point with that. Trim the fat. That's another thing too. When you're getting ready to buy anything that's a major purchase, you need to live as lean as possible. I can tell you,
Mhm.
leading up to my mortgage, to when I purchased my first house, there was no Hulu, Peacock, none of that, stuff,
Yeah,
Netflix. Because if I'm working, I don't got time to sit on my butt and watch these
right.
shows, right? So I cut all that stuff out. I tell people this all the time. If you go out, because I work hard, I deserve to go out once a week and treat myself or anything like that. I don't know about y'all, but when I go out with my wife, it's $150 right out of the gate. If I do that once a week, that's $600 a month. That's $7,200 a year. Think
Yeah.
about that. There's your down payment. It only took 1 year of you not doing that. And how many times have you gone out more than a week? So my best piece of advice is get familiar with what your credit is. Keep your payments on time. Get as lean as possible. Start figuring out where the necessity and the luxuries lie. If you got to get
Yeah.
6 months of bank statements and start highlighting pink as luxury and green as necessity, you're going to realize, looking at all that pink, that you
Oh
got
my
to.
gosh, I don't even want to do mine. Okay, so I said this was going to be the end, but I forgot something very important. Klarna, Affirm, all those.
You saw my
How are
post.
we? Well, yes, and also in the mortgage world, it's impacting us as well. Not even just with it impacting your credit, but for the mortgage industry. When we see those on bank statements now, we are having to factor them into the debt to income if they are
Absolutely.
over a certain amount of time. So it's something that is coming up more, but I wanted you to talk about it from the credit side, because I did see your post, and I want you to give us a little quick. We could do a more extensive video later, but just give us a little something.
So buy now, pay never. That's what I call it. People are like, "Oh, hey, I can't pay this in full." For those of you guys don't know, what she's talking about is that every time you go and you make a purchase online, and it tells you they want to break it up into a payment plan, and basically you're financing that purchase. Klarna, Affirm, those are the companies.
Like a
uh,
layaway.
that right, exactly, like a layaway. Um, so what happened here recently is that now it's being added to the reporting agencies. Before it wasn't. Even Chase is doing it now with the buy now, pay later. What they'll do is that if you have a big purchase with your Chase credit card or on your debit card, sometimes you can break that into a payment plan.
Mhm.
So that's becoming a thing. And what's happening, what Angie's talking about, it's hitting the credit report, and all those little payments. I think in my post, I posted one of my clients. I literally, I think I said 1 out of 5 credit reports I pull all have these affirms. So you have like $20 here, $50 here, $170 here. And what ends up happening is that all these start adding up, and it's like $500 a month.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that $500 ain't going to be used for your house or that purchase. Now you look like you don't have enough money to make those purchases.
Right.
So what's happened is you're adding a short-term loan to your credit report.
Yeah.
That's bad. Don't do that. You're going to take a hit every single time that you keep getting that Affirm added on there. Now, people are going to say, well, Joe, you talked about mixture of credit, right? 4 different types of loans. Wouldn't a personal loan look good? Yes, one would look good, but not 20.
Right.
And the thing is that if you missed out one payment and you're trying to, the whole purpose of you trying to make this purchase was so you can obtain this, whatever this purchase is, but you needed to break it down into a payment arrangement and you can make that payment back. How do you
Yeah.
think everybody else is going to size you up on that?
Right.
So
Right.
that's going to be now. Here's the biggest fear now, because Klarna, I think I wrote an article about that where Q2 they had reported a loss of about 120 something $1 million because people weren't making the payments back.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen? You think that a company is just because you're able to get that account financed or that payment, the purchase finance, that they won't come after you? It's typically the company itself won't do it. It's the third party collection.
Yeah.
That's what y'all need to worry about. And
Mm.
depending on what state you reside in, there is a statute of limitations. They can sue you. Here in the state of Texas, it's 4 years. But if you
Yeah.
go to places like Illinois, it's 10 years. You
Yeah.
know, so imagine, allowing that. You didn't want to fulfill your contract of that finance. Goes over to, there's interest and penalties and late fees and all the things associated with that defaulted account.
Yeah.
Flip over to a third party, and now they have the next 4 years to be able to go and collect and file a judgment and sue you. And God forbid you're in a garnishment state. Even people here in Texas, they're like, "Oh, it's a non-garnishment state." Well, here's the thing: you came from California. Your headquarters, your corporate location is in
Mm.
California, which is a garnishment state. So they're going to come after your employer to garnish your wages from there, not because you're
Wow.
a resident doesn't protect you. So. I always tell people, here's the thing. I just said about trimming the fat, doing all that. If you can't make the purchase in full for something that's a luxury, then you shouldn't be buying it at all.
Yeah. Good
That's my
advice. Good
two
advice.
cents.
All right. So I'm gonna leave it with a cute little story. So my dad used Joe, and
I
Joe
got,
is
I got thrown out there
my
like
dad is using
that.
he is using all of Joe's resources because this was years ago. And he still calls Joe to this day and he'll be like, hey, Joe, I have a question. And I love it, but I love it because Joe will answer him. He's like, hey, what do you need? Okay, cool. And the other day I was talking to him and he goes, yeah, my credit went down. And I said, it went down. He goes, yeah, 8 points. And I'm like, Dad. And he's like, he's like, I just like for it to be as high as possible. I got to get back into the 800s. And I'm just
Yeah.
cracking up. And I'm like, you know what? I love it. He's like, you just got to be ready in case what. He's like, I might have to buy a Range Rover one day, like.
You give me a
So,
pick of go for a go lunch.
and
That's
I'm like, no.
awesome.
He's like, okay, fine. I'll settle for an electric car. Like he makes a joke, but I just love it. I really appreciate you. That's another reason why I recommend you is because you are a source to people that have been through the program before they're in the program. So it's great. So thank you.
Absolutely. No, he called me when he hit the 800, and I was so super proud. I never want to have a client ever call me back and say, Joe, I need your help again. I
Right.
actually have a rule. I tell people like I don't do repeat clientele because I invest so much time and energy
Yeah.
into my clients. So when I get those calls, your heart skips a beat a little bit, like, oh no. But then he assures me,
Yeah.
he's like, hey, by the way, I just broke 800. Wanted to let you
Yeah.
know. He's always got really good questions. But yeah, anytime anybody ever needs advice, um, I'm a huge advocate for education. I love being able to educate. I genuinely love to educate people
Yeah.
because, we didn't go, I know personally, I did not grow up with this type of
Right.
education. My parents didn't teach me anything about credit or finances. We didn't learn it in school. It's just kind of one of those trial and error things and life
Yeah.
lessons we had to endure. So if I can kind of be that big brother, give you that advice in order to,
Yeah.
kind of, carve that path for you or start on for your credit journey, I'm more than happy to do that anytime.
Thank you. Well, I will tell everybody that Joe and I are going to be doing lives. We are going to do them more consistently. We haven't figured out a date and time yet, and that's all my fault, really, because I was supposed to have provided it. But once we do, you will know, and then you can come in, ask your questions, and we'll kind of go from there. So, thank you, Joe, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And I look forward to sending more people your way and we get them improved and into homes.
I appreciate it. Thank you,
You're
Angie.
welcome. Thanks. Bye.